it's going to make your job easier in the end. Yes, it's another thing to do. Yes, it's another thing that gets added to your plate.
That's today's guest, educator, administrator, and communications expert, John Gallagher, admitting that advocacy takes time. Welcome to Music Ed Insights. I'm leadership trainer and former band director Alan Fire, here with composer and co-college music education program head Steve Shanley.
Each episode, Alan and I talk with national thought leaders in music education with practical insights for K-12 music educators.
Steve, tell us about our guest.
Dr. John J. Gallagher serves as the Director of Music and Fine Arts for Long Island's Longwood Central School District, where he supervises 41 teachers of art, music, and theater. Under his leadership, the district has received numerous awards for its fine arts programming, and John is a sought-after public speaker who has presented clinics on music education, advocacy, marketing, and promotion throughout the United States and Canada. Find John's full bio, show notes, and resources at musicedinsights.com. Alan, what was the takeaway you had from this episode?
He makes a good case for setting aside valuable time and resources to promote your program. I think it will light a fire for our listeners. What about you, Steve?
My guess is many listeners will react the same way I did. This is a lot of stuff I know I should be doing, but I'm not. A good reminder that I need to do better with this at my own job. Oh, and also, you need to get permission from your administration for many of your publicity efforts. I think in the age of, I'll post this reminder to Facebook about our upcoming concert, it might be easy for listeners to forget about this important step.
Yes, and he is realistic about modern ways of promotion. Many thanks to our insiders, including our newest, Jeff Schmidt. If you want the benefits of being a Music Ed Insights insider, head to our website to learn more. For now, let's listen to this episode with John Gallagher.
John Gallagher, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Steve.
Let's start right off the bat with public relations as a term. I think we will throw around terms like public relations, advocacy, those sorts of things, and maybe we don't know really exactly what those mean. So can we start out with some basic definitions that you think might help us for the rest of the conversation?
Sure. I think a lot of people get public relations and advertising mixed up, but advertising is something that you have to pay for. You have to pay for ad space on TV, in the print media, but public relations is free. It's a free tool that enables you to use the media to disseminate information to the public or to the community at large. But what you're really doing is building public relationships with various target audiences. Target audiences are the people that you want to make sure receive your message. And in our field of music education, who is that? Building principals, superintendents, boards of education, local business owners, and certainly parents and students and other taxpayers. Building those relationships are going to maintain positive relationships throughout your time in your position or in your school. If you are advocating for something, to be an advocate really is to plead in favor of a cause or a proposal. We get people on our team to go up and talk to the movers and shakers and people that we need to really solidify our efforts. And again, it's building relationships, building familiarity and trust with the movers and the shakers, and really providing reliable information to them. You have to let them know what you're there for, why you're there, how it's going to benefit folks, and again, in our case, students.
So why should music educators care about public relations? I think we've got enough on our plates as it is, and we've got lots of happy parents sitting in the audience at our concerts. So do we really need to add this to the list of things that we're worried about?
You know, you certainly do, in my opinion, and it's something that I talk about in my training seminars to music educators to basically say, yes, it's going to make your job easier in the end. Yes, it's another thing to do. Yes, it's another thing that gets added to your plate. It's building these relationships and educating your public as to what music education encompasses. It's fantastic to have a standing room only crowd in your high school auditorium to watch the concert, or to watch maybe a stage production, a drama, a play, a musical. But to develop those relationships, again, with your building principal, your superintendent, you get them involved in the music program. You check with them to see if it's okay to bring politicians in, to invite them to just sit and listen and watch a concert. For them to really see what we go through, it would be nice to have them there. It would be nice to get your superintendent or your building principal to narrate a performance of "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," or to be the narrator, announcing the different branches of the military when we play the military songs. So, yeah, it is an extra thing to do, but really, you're the expert in the field. You know the difference between a marching band and a wind ensemble, the difference between an oboe and a clarinet, a violin and a viola, using all of these different techniques that, again, we will talk about in a minute, really garners the public's support for what you do. It will advance your program. It will allow people to become more aware when you start publicizing the fact that maybe your valedictorian and or your salutatorian is in your school music program. Maybe the kids in the top 10 of the graduating class are, or the top 20%. And not that we exist for kids to do better on test scores, but I think you should have a working knowledge of who your audiences are. It really is knowing how to communicate.
Yeah, I remember we had, when I was a director, we had an opportunity for the jazz band to play for the local Chamber of Commerce banquet. And I turned it into a little bit of an informants where I taught them a little bit about jazz and jazz form and a little some behind the scenes information about Miles Davis and Kind of Blue. And that was a terrible idea. They just wanted to hear some jazz. And I thought that it was my chance to help the community understand it better. So I wish I would have heard what you just said back before I squandered that opportunity. It was fine, but I could tell they were getting just a little bit bored. I have a brief anecdote about something I did well with a building principal. I got super lucky my first year to school. The principal said, "Hey, I really like that pep band, but boy, there's this song they play up at Iowa State University when they come out and the basketball players do their warm up. It's real uplifting. And everybody gets on their feet. Boy, if you could play that song, I think that'd be great." So with those vague instructions, I called somebody I knew in the staff up at Iowa State, and they said, "Oh, yeah, that's something that our Roger, our director, wrote. It's basically 2 repeated lines layered on top of each other with a certain number of repetitions. We'll send the parts down to you now." And we learned it. Took 10 minutes. Played it during our basketball team's warm up. And that principal was like, I don't want to say he was putty in my hands, but I would say that he thought, now this guy I can work with.
Let's dive in a little further. What exactly should we be publicizing? I think you brought up a great point that we as music teachers often maybe just assume that the general public or stakeholders will know what we know. And it's a good reminder that no, they don't. And part of our job is to help them understand. So what should we be helping them understand exactly?
First of all, the achievement of your students and anything maybe related to their staff. If the local high school band director just received another master's degree, or he was named to be the next all-state conductor, or he or she just got their doctoral degrees, things like that is certainly worth promoting. If you're lucky enough to have a public relations specialist in your school district, you should be their best friend. You should be getting them donuts every other Friday, and you should be sending them information daily, if not weekly, about things going on in your music program. Publicizing concerts. If you happen to also supervise other areas of the arts, there's your art show, and again, your spring musical or your drama production. Marching band championships, something obvious. Honorary inductions into the Tri-M Music Honor Society. And then maybe even at your concerts, invite your general music teachers to come. One of our general music classes in our 7th grade, we wanted to highlight their bucket drumming unit, where these students who are not in our performance ensembles are learned how to read notation, how to play together, how to do things as an individual, but as part of a larger group. And isn't that something that we learned from music education as well? So as folks were coming in to see their children perform on stage, they were coming into the building, and right there in the main hallway, we had our little percussion group set up. And there was, poster board there saying that this is Ms. X's general music class. This is our bucket drumming unit. All the kids sounded very well together. They all performed well together. So you can really understand what goes on in a bucket drumming lesson. It's not just a bunch of 7th graders banging on buckets. You can explain that perhaps from the podium if you're now the MC like I am at our concerts. You make mention of the fact that the young folks that you just saw as you were entering the building, It was from Ms. X's general music class, and they are learning X, Y, and Z. And it gives the public a greater knowledge of what goes on in your school music program, besides what they may see on stage or what they may see and hear on the field.
So print journalism is not exactly having the same sort of influence that it did decades ago. We're lucky in my town to still have a newspaper that exists, but I know that that is becoming less and less of a thing. So where exactly should we be publicizing all of this and how?
The price of print newspapers have just gone through the roof because folks are getting their news and their information from different sources. If you still want your local paper, you still got to pay for it so they can stay in business and do their work, but now you can get it on their app or on their website. So I think maintaining your list of local media outlets that still includes your local print media, that's a good thing. And of course, broadcast media, your local radio. I think radio is making a comeback and people are still listening to it on the morning and afternoon drives. So I don't think certainly that we should discount radio and print media. Your local news channel, whether it's a network affiliate or a local community affiliate, get them in there. I think maintaining those relationships with local reporters in broadcast, print, and of course, social media. When you start talking about social media, just like any other media promotions, your school district more than likely should have something on record about using a child's likeness and name in print, in media, which would really cover the school district from any kind of liability using a child's image like that.
So what do we do next? How do we write the press release?
Well, the first thing you do really is organize your thoughts. What are you writing the press release for? You are writing it to promote some kind of an event, some kind of an announcement. You want to come up with a great headline, a great hook to get the attention of the news editors, wherever you're going to send this to, social media, print media, broadcast. I think still mailing them, having hard copies sent, it's almost a novelty. It's almost a thing of the past. All of your information, who, what, where, when, why, and how, has got to be in the very first paragraph. And we say this because we know that editors cut from the bottom up. And I have samples of news releases on our New York website. NYSSMA is the New York State School Music Association, nyssma.org. You'll see the link in there for the press room. And that was something that I had started about a decade and a half ago to really post all the news releases that we have, all of the great stories that have been published on our kids around the state. And I have about 10 or so Swiss cheese news releases, we call them. They are templates for different things, winning state championship, doing well at festivals, the retirement of a beloved band director, things like that. Download them, fill in the blanks, and distribute them. So we like to think in terms of making your job easier. We at NYSSMA feel we made your job a bit easier. Here's the template. Just fill in the holes and send them out. You want to include a quote from someone, of course, once you get their approval, either your department chair, your director of fine arts, your principal, your superintendent, a parent, to help you in print in this story, to help promote your story. You want to make sure that all of your information is in that first paragraph and have a good approved quote from someone.
I'll also say this for our listeners who are from small towns. If you're still fortunate to have a small town newspaper, you will often find that if you write a story for them, they're very appreciative that you've done that and are happy to run that thing.
Yes. And I think you could say that for just about every media outlet. Maybe for any industry, that if you do somebody's job for them, they're going to love you for doing that. And it goes back to what I was saying before about you being the expert. Explain why it's a big deal, why your marching band got invited to march in the Rose Bowl parade. Why is it a big deal that they're coming to New York City to march in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade? What did it take to get here? A year, maybe 2 years of fundraising, 6, 8, 12 coach buses, a tractor trailer full of equipment. Tell your story.
You mentioned social media. Are there specific differences when we are trying to promote anything on social media compared to a press release that we might send to a newspaper, or will that same press release that we send to the newspaper, can we just paste that into a Facebook announcement?
Yes, you certainly could. Once it's written and approved, you can really distribute it anywhere. Uh,
I want to interrupt you. I like how
yeah.
you are continually reminding us when it's approved, double check with the administration, run everything past them. Don't use photos of the students without permission. Like those are very, very good reminders that I want to draw our listeners' attention to that you keep bringing up. I think that's really important.
Yeah, you can't send anything out on your school district activities, certainly on the district letterhead, without somebody getting approval. Instagram is where the kids are and the younger teachers. Facebook is where all of us old folks are. Facebook and Instagram really are where everybody is.
What other resources do you think we should know about as it pertains to public relations and our programs?
Anything really that your state association may put out, anything that NAFME may put out, I suggest that if you'd like to go to NYSSMA.org, and again, it's two S's, New York State School Music Association, NYSSMA.org, and the resources are there for anyone to use. We're glad to share them.
Well, John Gallagher, thank you so much for joining us with some very practical tips for helping publicize all the great things happening in our music programs. Can we ask you to stick around for 5 questions on some lighter topics?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Can you pick a favorite restaurant in New York City?
Interestingly enough, have to go with Gallagher's Steakhouse in New York City. There is no relation there, although I wish there was. First time we went there, I had saw the maitre d' and I showed him my last name was Gallagher. I said, "Is there any way to get a discount here with this last name being Gallagher?" He said, "No, actually, we charge you double." So I thought that that was a bit of Irish wit and a bit of New York sarcasms. Juniors in Times Square, right there in the theater district. If you want a good burger or a sandwich or cheesecake, Juniors is world famous for their cheesecake. You go see a show over in the Broadway area, you cross the street, go into Juniors. But then even behind Juniors is the legendary Sardi's. Sardi's is where all the theater goers go, all the producers, all the actors after opening night. And that's where all the caricatures of the Broadway legends are hanging. My wife was born and raised in Queens, and there's a legendary restaurant in Queens called Jan's. And I believe he was a German immigrant in the late 1800s. It's actually spelled Jahn, and that's an old 1920s style ice cream parlor, burger place. There used to be more of them, but now only the original stands, and it's in Jackson Heights, Queens. So I know you asked me for one restaurant, but I gave you 4. So,
it's a big place.
Yeah, it's a big place.
We'll take it.
Yep.
How about a piece of music, a composer or performer you wish more people knew about?
Well, I don't think that they're looking for any more fame. Randall Standridge, Soon-He Newbold, the music that these two composers are putting out, I think are just fantastic for both the band and the orchestra.
How about a favorite film or TV series you've enjoyed recently?
Oh, I love Abbott Elementary. I think that is the funniest thing on TV right now.
Yeah.
And, if Quinta Brunson is listening, oh my gosh, if that's not the funniest thing, I don't know what is.
How about the most memorable live music performance you've attended?
Summer of 22, quite frankly. It was our first time going to Tanglewood up in the Berkshire Mountains in Massachusetts. And I was embarrassed, quite frankly, that was my first time going after being a music educator for almost 20 years. But we went up there summer of 22 to see the music for John Williams. It was his 90th birthday celebration, and the Boston Pops were playing it. I had always wanted to go, and I'm really glad that my wife and I did go.
And finally, a book recommendation for our listeners.
About a year ago, I think, I had finished reading. Norman Lear had written it, the producer of All in the Family and The Jeffersons and Maude and all. The book was called Even This I Get to Experience. And in that book, it let us in on the secrets of what it was like writing for All in the Family and how Archie Bunker was really built off of his father and different experiences that he's had personally. it was a wonderful read, and how sad it was that we lost him a few months ago.
John Gallagher, it's been great to get practical, important, I'm going to call it essential insights on what music educators can and should do to make sure that their programs get the recognition, attention, and advocacy that they deserve. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Music Ed Insights.
We're supported by Group Dynamic, a leading provider of youth leadership workshops. Alan works with dozens of schools each year to help develop their leaders. Learn more at groupdynamic.net/youth-leadership.
Or you could email me at alan@groupdynamic.net. Also sponsored by the Co-College Music Education Program. They've got a website too.
Just click their link at our website or email me at shanley@coe.edu.
Also, The Normal Design, helping normal companies and people create memorable, meaningful, and professional designs and branding. More at thenormaldesign.com.
And Winterset Websites, website design and maintenance. wintersetwebsites.com.
Our Facebook page is Music Ed Insights.
Our website has program notes, links, and a one-page download of this episode's key takeaways. That's musicedinsights.com.
New episodes generally drop every couple weeks on Monday.
Get current.
Stay relevant.
Music Ed Insights.